Let's talk about a book that's, 2,500 years old, but is still shaping how the world's biggest companies and most effective leaders operate. I'm talking, of course, about Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
But you're probably thinking, a book on war? Seriously? How is an ancient military manual going to help me today? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Because The Art of War isn't really about fighting. It's a masterclass in strategy, in psychology, and in how to win, at pretty much anything.
And Sun Tzu's core philosophy kicks off with this massive idea. Victory isn't decided during the battle, it's won long before anyone ever throws a punch. It is all about the prep work. Right from the get-go, Sun Tzu makes it clear that this isn't a game. He wants us to understand that any strategic effort, whether it's launching a business, making a career move, or heading into a negotiation, it has real stakes. It's a path that leads to success or to ruin, so you'd better take it seriously.
So, how do you prepare? Well, Sun Tzu gives us 5 things we absolutely have to think about. First, the moral law. Is your team, your company, truly aligned with the mission? Do they believe in it? Second, heaven. This is all about timing. Are the conditions right? Think market trends or even just the right season. Third, earth. What's the landscape look like? Who are your competitors? What's the terrain? Fourth, the commander. This is you. This is leadership. Are you credible, decisive, and trustworthy? And finally, method and discipline. Do you actually have the organization and the processes in place to pull off your plan?
And he's not subtle about it either. He's basically telling us, look, if you get these 5 things, you'll win. If you don't, you're going to fail. It's not just helpful advice. He says it's the fundamental difference between success and failure.
All right, so once you've done that foundational work, the next layer of strategy is all about deep, honest-to-goodness knowledge.
Think of this like a strategic balance sheet. You have to conduct a brutally honest audit of yourself. What are your real strengths? What are your limits? What do you truly want? And then you have to do the exact same thing for your opponent. Find their weaknesses, understand their habits, and figure out what they're really after. You need the full picture. And this is the payoff. It's probably his most famous line for a reason. All that knowledge isn't just about power. It's the cure for fear. When you have that complete, clear-eyed view of the situation, the outcome stops being about luck. It becomes predictable.
So, you've prepared. You've done your homework. Now things get really interesting. We're moving into the mind games. Sun Tzu teaches that strategy is less about brute force and more about controlling what your opponent thinks is happening.
This is the #1 rule of engagement. It's that simple. Because if you can control what your opponent believes, what they see, what they expect, then you control them.
So what does that look like in practice? Well, if you're strong and ready to make your move, you need to project weakness. You want to lull them into a false sense of security.
And if you're right on their doorstep, about to launch, you make them think you're miles and miles away. You want to keep them guessing, keep them off balance, so they're never ready for what you're actually about to do. But this is the real masterstroke. You actively use deception to feed their worst instincts. You encourage their arrogance, because an arrogant opponent is a sloppy opponent. An arrogant opponent makes mistakes. You're literally turning their own psychology into a weapon against them.
In all of this, the preparation, the knowledge, the deception, it's all leading up to one ultimate goal. This is the absolute peak of Sun Tzu's philosophy, the most powerful form of victory imaginable.
He calls it supreme excellence. And get this, it has nothing to do with crushing your opponent. It's about outmaneuvering them so completely that their will to even compete just evaporates. They know they've lost before the fight even begins.
This shows you exactly how Sun Tzu ranked his strategies. The absolute worst option is a head-on conflict. Think of a messy price war in business. It's costly for everyone. A better move is to isolate your competition, break up their partnerships. But the best strategy, the mark of a true master, is to make their plans totally irrelevant before they can even get started.
So, the master strategist maneuvers themselves into such a strong position and their opponent into such a weak one that the battle is over before it begins. They win without firing a single shot, and they get to keep all of their resources for the next challenge.
So, let's bring all this ancient wisdom into the here and now. How can we actually use these lessons in our modern world, today?
All right, let's boil it down. First, victory is all in the prep work. The outcome is decided before you start. Second, be like water. You've got to be adaptable because things are always changing. Third,
Speed and efficiency are your friends. Long, drawn-out conflicts just drain everyone. Win decisively. Fourth, check your emotions at the door. Acting out of anger or ego is a surefire way to make a huge mistake. And finally, it's all about psychology. You have to understand what makes people, your team, your competition, and yourself tick.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. The next time you're facing a big challenge, a tough project, a tense negotiation, whatever it is, ask yourself, are you just preparing for a head-on fight, or are you playing the long game and setting things up so you've already won before you even step onto the field?